Hello fellow old schoolers, welcome to the channel and welcome to Old School Magic. Today we have a quick white weenie set up against a white, blue and black skies deck. And let's just use a few minutes to go over the quick white deck here. The quick white weenie deck is a classical setup harking all the way back to 1994. And it's also one of the more valid budget options for people just getting into the old school format, as it can reliably tangle with some of the bigger decks. And in general, it works with putting out a bunch of cheap white creatures, and then getting the Crusades out that will just amplify the attack and the strength and power of all the creatures. And just try to rush the opposing player down, and trying to win early by doing lethal damage with all those creatures backed up by Crusades, and thus preventing the more expensive cards mana-wise from the opponent to ever get into play. In this version we do have Serra Angels as a top curve drop. There's 3 of them there, and we also have the Moorish Cavalry. It's actually a more rare card to be used here. And on the face of it, it only looks like a war mammoth, like a 3/3 trample creature, but the kicker is it's white. So it's a nice creature to have, especially against other non-white aggro decks, as that cavalry will just trample over the small blockers when it's fueled by those Crusades. And I guess it just has the added benefit of having some awesome artwork there. Really dig that card. And in general, the deck just has a pretty low mana curve, so you can make use of the Yalom Tome for any basic lands that you draw later on in the game, in the mid and late game, when you don't need those lands anymore. You can just switch them out for another card, hopefully another creature to smash the opponent over the head with. It's actually a concept called soft card advantage, as you don't get more cards out of it, but you get better cards out of it. So it's, in a roundabout way, it's still a card advantage here. As a final nail in the coffin, the deck can usually use Armageddons. This is also because, as said, that the mana curve is reasonably low, so it can bounce back pretty fast. After an Armageddon, it doesn't need that many lands to function. So the play here is usually to get a bunch of creatures out, remove the opposing player's creatures, get Crusades to make your creatures even stronger, and then cast Armageddon, just setting both you and the opposing player back, but you have a bunch of creatures out that are boosted, and then you overrun the opposing player. So that would be the usual attack plan here. In this deck we don't see any land taxes. I believe that might be a mistake. Land tax is a very strong card in this deck, both with the in combination with the Yalom Tomes, but also because you can just use those lands you get from the land tax to get a bunch of free draws with that Yalom Tome, but also to set up just before the Armageddon, so you have a bunch of basic lands in hand. And finally, you get that soft card advantage I talked about, as you thin the deck with the land tax each time you use it. So you just, the odds of you drawing lands are lower the more lands you have just shifted out of the deck. But the player here doesn't use land tax at the moment, having elected for those books instead. As for the Skies deck, the player there was unfortunately swamped with work, and he couldn't find the time to send the picture of the deck to me because he wasn't really home for it. So, and I don't know the deck because he just made it, but usually it revolves around only flying creatures, and he'll use this card, the Mode, and I think that card will be key in this matchup, because it's the only way for him, or it's a very efficient way for him to survive the onslaught of all those armies of creatures from the quick white. So the question will be if he can get it out in time, and if he can protect it from those disenchants the quick white will implement as well. So let's see how this deck will function. I have no idea what's in it actually. Without further ado, here we go. And the quick white players on the left here with that suitable white playmat, starting out with the plains and passing the turn, and there's an underground sea from the Skies deck. Pretty slow start from the white deck here, but he didn't have a 1-drop, but there's a white knight getting answered with a Mace of Ith, so the first line of protection from the Skies deck, and there's a Crusade and a Strip Mine. Wow, so okay, that's a good start from the quick white deck right there. And the Skies deck has an Ancestral Recall in the end step of the white player, and I think the Skies deck plays fully powered actually. He might not play with the Lotus, but I think he has everything else in the deck. Has a second blue mana, so now he can counter. Discarding the Divine Offering, he had too many cards in hand. There's a white knight again for 3 damage. And Savannah Lion, so we can really see the pressure being applied, but it gets countered. It's all about surviving the early game for the Skies deck here. And here's a Hypnotic Spectre, the first flying creature from the Skies deck, but he can't block the knight. And there's a Factory as well, but he chooses not to block it, as he doesn't want to trade with the Spectre. Casting Time Warp and attacking with the Spectre. So he'll try to get creatures here as a Serra Angel. It's a pretty good pick, although he couldn't play it at the moment. And he played a Clergy of the Holy Nimbus. And the Skies deck is sinkholing the Factory, just doing everything he can to survive here. Strip mining that Mace of Ith early on was pretty lethal. Okay, so he took out an Armageddon. Not the best picks at the moment, because the white player only has 2 lands. Yeah, has a wolf. But the Skies deck is still attacking instead of blocking, because he's hoping to pick some creatures away from the opposing player's hand. Wasn't enough. And too many attackers here, so that's 1-0 for the quick white deck in this very quick first round. And he actually had a Moorish Cavalry in hand as well. Let's go for round 2. So there's the Library of Alexandria, turn 1 from the Skies deck, but yeah, and he can actually use it. He hasn't mulliganed, but there's the Savannah Lion. And although the library play is very, very strong, it's not a defending card, and it usually requires time before you can reap the benefits of the card advantage it provides, and I'm not sure if he has that time. Tundra Wolf, the white player seems a bit mana screwed at this point, only a single plains. If the Skies deck could sinkhole that would be very good for him. Putting out a Spectre. They can block the Tundra Wolf. Okay, there's a plains. And there's a Source to Plush on the Spectre, and the attacking creatures comes over again. And another Clergy of the Holy Nimbus. They're pretty nifty as well. It's a 1/1 creature, and the opposing player have to pay 1 colorless mana if they ever kill it. Otherwise, the Clergy will regenerate. Another Spectre coming out, trying to defend his master here, and it gets removed as well. And a lot of damage, but another wolf. But we really need a Crusade from the white player at this point, and then it'll go so fast. And Skies deck, he has enough for a moat now, almost. That would be pretty nifty. No, he tutors, okay. Well, he could tutor for the moat, but I'm not sure if he dares to do it, because the white player might have a disenchant in hand. But it's 4 creatures right there, and a Crusade will just wreck him. He needs something to defend himself with here fast. There's a white knight. Perhaps a balance? Okay, it's an Ancestral Recall. Perhaps he tutored for that. I think he did. It's the usual tutor target, but I'm not sure about such a play in this situation, if he'll have the time. I mean, he has a draw engine going already, So he needs to work fast here. Yeah, sinkholing one of the planes, that'll perhaps hold some of the creatures back. There's a Fellow Stone and a Time Walk. He's doing everything he can to play for time here. Another island. A lot of mana from the Sky Stick at this point. A set of Vampire? No, it's an Angel, even better. It's better because he can attack with it and he can still defend against the creatures, and the Crusade will boost the Angel as well. Yeah, the Quick White has no other option than just suicide attacking on him. He needs to end the game now. 8 lives left on the Skies player here. There's another Angel, wow. And just sinkholing, yeah, sinkholing the planes away. Both of the planes, wow. That's mean. As a response, he discharged the Fellow Stone, so it was actually pretty lucky that he didn't put out the moat, I suppose. But those 2 Angels, this might tip the balance of the game. 8 lives left, but the white player has no lands, and there's a Mind Twist. And those Angels attack for 8 each turn, and yeah, that's game. That's game. There's a factory the white player drew, and he couldn't remove the Angels. So that's 1-1 between these 2 players at this moment, and this is the 3rd and final match of the set coming up. It's actually a pretty rare sight seeing a Quick White deck getting land destructed out. That was pretty brutal. But it was a very efficient way to just put the brakes on him. Let's see if we can make it happen again. Ooh, there's an Ancestral Recall in the Sky Stick's hand there. Quick White starting out with some Wolves. 1/1 first strike creature. Obviously getting increasingly more dangerous the more Crusades there are out. Where the first strike ability will come into play more. So they come over for a bite, and oh, that's another 2 creatures there. The Sky Stick, yeah, he's just starting that land destruction. Proved so efficient last time, so why not? So there's another 3 points of damage here. Still no Crusades from the Quick White player. He plays with 4 of them. Spectre? Yeah. Okay, but it gets removed immediately. Did provide the Sky Stick with some life though. And that's a Crusade. Ouch. This will go fast now. It just effectively doubling the damage done each turn. At this moment. Okay, there's a quick disenchant from the Sky Stick here. And there's 2 blue mana up, so you can probably counter the next creature coming out. Or if there's a Crusade, but oh, he's down to 9 life now. Ancestraling at the end step of the opponent. Trying just to draw cards for dear life here. Hasn't touched his opponent yet, but as we saw last time, if he stabilizes and gets those big beaters out, he can actually turn the game around pretty fast. But that's a Fellow Stone, that's not the best card at this point. 6 life here. There's a Yalom Tome from the Quick White player. So, unless there's a Crusade coming out, I suppose the Sky Stick has 2 more turns to survive here. He goes for the Time Twister. Okay, he must have been really desperate at this point, because that actually he loses tempo on this, and the Ancestral Recall he played previously doesn't matter that much. The opponent only had a single card in hand, and it will net the Quick White player with a full hand again. And we know that there'll be a bunch of creatures and perhaps 1 or 2 Crusades there. But I suppose we didn't see the Sky Stick's hand, so it must have been pretty bad. And he has to act now. I mean, you only have 2 more turns to live. If he drew a balance at this point, that would be a real lifesaver. It's a Mace of Fifth, that's a start, and a Spectre. Still haven't seen a moat from him. I do believe he plays with at least one, but I'm not entirely sure. There's the Crusade. And another one. Whoa. Okay, so he blocks the 3/3 wolf. Lets one of them go back with the Mace of Ith. He says 3 lives at this point. This looks like the end. Unless he can draw balance. Another Mace of Ith. Okay. And Cestling again. That's a nice card to draw into at this point. And he'll still get 3 attacks. 3 points of damage done to him by just one of those creatures. He only has 2 maces. Okay, but he can disenchant one of the Crusades. And the other one. Okay, that stabilizes him a lot. But 3 points of life, man. Here they come. 2 of them get lost in the maze, and that's the Moorish cavalry coming in. Thinking about doing something here. Disenchant, Divine Offering on the Yalom Tomb. Okay, so that will net him some life. It's probably the main reason for doing it here. Then sinkholing one of the planes. It's always risky as a Swords to Plowshares on the Moorish cavalry. It's always risky when choosing to sinkhole, because he can hold back a Serra Angel at this point, but if the Quick White draws a factory, he'll be kicking himself for not holding that sinkhole back. 4 life left. There's the moat. Okay. And another sinkhole. A lot of land destruction in that deck. The Lion, but now they can't attack. The Skies deck is perfectly secluded in his castle at this point until the Quick White can draw a disenchant. He has stabilized at 4 life as a Spectre, and we can see that he can actually fly straight over that moat and attack the opponent. Nothing from the white player. Oh, there's a lot of mana. That's a vampire, another flying creature. Okay. It uses the Swords to Plowshare, the Spectre. A play here could have been to attack with the Spectre first, then he could. No, never mind. He could counter it anyway. There's a White Knight, and I mean, the white player can just apply creatures as another Swords to Plowshare on the vampire. But because the moment he draws a disenchant, if the Skies deck can't block him, he can disenchant the moat and then just go in for the kill with that army, and there's a Crusade. So it's all about top decking a disenchant at this point, and the Skies deck needs to get and keep a counterspell in hand, or he'll be overrun. Okay, there's a tutor. He hasn't touched the Skies, the Quick White player yet. Okay, he chooses for a Serra Angel, I think. That was a good pick. It's a 5/5 Angel at this point. There's already been used a bunch of Swords to Plowshares from the white player. So there was an unorthodox tutoring, but I think it was actually a perfect play. Okay, as a responding Serra Angel from the Quick White, he finally got the mana for it. But he gets Swords to Plowshare immediately. He nets the Quick White 5 points of life, so it'll just it'll just be annulled by the attack from the Serra Angel. Another Angel on both sides here. This is like an air battle. Spectre coming in, it's actually getting pretty crowded. And the Serra Angels just trade places, they trade lives here. So there's a Serra Angel and a Spectre left, and 10 life on the Skies deck. So we actually see the game shift at this point. The Skies deck is slowly, and actually pretty fast, getting back into the game. There's a balance from the Quick White player. I don't think he should play with that card in this archetype. Okay, that's game. really interesting. It really came down to the wire here. I mean, I think the Sky Slip was down to 2 life at one point in this final battle of the set. Just a lot of creature battles and a classical matchup where one of the players has to defend himself and the other player has to make the kill as fast as possible. So yeah, really thematic battle. Next up, I'm not really sure what will be next, but I think there's a Berserker Tug, a Disco Troll, and a red and green aggro deck here, and I'll be playing as well, I think. So stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching.